South and west of the Malay Peninsula lies the world's fifth largest island, Sumatra. Cut in half by the equator, it provides ideal growing conditions for rubber, for rubber trees grow best within 10 degrees of the equator. Sumatra is a long, narrow island with over 70 high mountains that comprise the Barisan Range, most of them being volcanic. It was here in the heart of the tropical jungle that Goodyear decided in 1916 to start its vast system of rubber plantations. Over on the other side of the world, the men and women worked side by side with primitive tools, tilling the soil to produce their main crop of rice. Cultivation of small areas was necessary for a few of their necessities. Sumatra is thinly populated, and prior to the advent of the rubber plantations, little of the very fertile soil was utilized. The inhabitants preferred hunting and fishing to the more arduous work of farming. Their hunger could be satisfied by catching a fish or two, no need for cooking. A palm leaf serves for a plate, and fingers for knife, fork, and spoon. We who live in more civilized parts of the world with modern conveniences on every side sometimes find it hard to realize that in other parts of the world, conditions do not quite come up to ours. But this was the situation that the Goodyear engineers found in Sumatra when they decided to start their large plantation. The villages and the people were much the same as they had been for centuries, an easygoing lot of men, women, and children who found their means of existence in what they could use from the luxuriant growth of the island. A bath was frequently necessary, and the more fastidious would always go to the upstream side of the water buffalo. The one thing that held back the people of Sumatra was the jungle. In order to get something worthwhile out of this highly productive soil, it was necessary to change entirely the way of life of these people. These people were to learn new jobs and were destined to take their place in world trade to furnish an essential raw material that finds new uses every day. The job was not an easy one. It was a job that taxed the ingenuity of the men in charge of the work. Roads had to be planned, cleared, and built. Modern equipment was moved in to speed up the work. The first roads were constructed along the edges of the encroaching jungle, and it was on these roads that the materials for the construction of the plantation buildings were moved in on location. Local transportation facilities were pressed into service, and oxen and crude carts brought lumber and equipment to the men whose job it was to conquer the jungle. All this activity must have been strange indeed to the previous inhabitants of the jungle, but men and snakes just don't get along very well together. Better living quarters were constructed for the native workmen and their families. The women's work of washing clothes and children was brought indoors, where clean running water replaced the muddy water of the streams. To the water buffalo was given the private and exclusive use of the rivers, where he could do his bathing in peace and quiet all to himself. Every day is Saturday at the company bathhouse, and the laundry and a bath are done in one simple operation. A stroll in the sun, and you're dry and clean. Headquarters for this vast undertaking was established, and from here came the planning and instructions necessary in carrying out this tremendous task of conquering the jungle. Engineers and foremen covered the territory on foot and devised methods for clearing this luxuriant wild growth. After right-of-ways had been cleared, the work progressed from the sides of the road back toward the heart of the jungle. The dense underbrush was first cleared away with long, sharp knives in order to get access to the large trees. Each tree presented a real problem. Scaffolding was sometimes erected around the base of the tree. In this manner, the workmen could accomplish the job in a shorter time. And there she goes, making progress toward the goal of clearing the land for the planting of the rubber trees. The work progressed slowly at first, but increased in speed as the men learned their new jobs and as new men were brought in to speed up the work. 18,000 acres was the goal set for this first of 3 plantations of Goodyear in Sumatra. Brush fires reduced the undergrowth and small branches from the fallen trees to ashes, leaving the logs and stumps of the trees scattered over the ground. After removal of the logs, there still remained another tough job of clearing away the stumps. Tractors made fast work of yanking the stumps from their foothold in eliminating this veritable forest of stumps. It seemed a never-ending task to clear away the land for the planting of the young seedlings of the rubber tree. In another part of the plantation, other workers were busy attending to the young shoots of a tree whose botanical name is Hevea brasiliensis, but more commonly known as the commercial rubber tree. These carefully selected plants were to form the basis of Goodyear's first plantation in Sumatra. This method of planting is a decided improvement over the method used since the year 1498, for it was in 1498 that Christopher Columbus found the natives of South America playing with a crude rubber ball, and until the development of plantation growing, all rubber was collected from wild trees found growing in the jungle. Plantation growing represents an important milestone in the company's progress. This plantation bears the name of Dolac Maranger, and with the Wingfoot and Lepon plantations, brings the total acreage in Sumatra to 94,000. This plantation in 1 year, with its 18,000 acres, would only supply the Goodyear plant in Akron for a period of 25 days. The tom-tom, which had up to this time been the jungle telegraph, now serves as a whistle that calls the plantation workers to their job. Many and varied are the jobs on a rubber plantation, but the most important one is that of the tapper. Just the right amount of bark must be cut off to permit the milky white latex to flow from the tree. When the cups are full, collectors make the rounds. Latex is crude rubber in its natural state and must be further processed in order to make it suitable for use in the rubber factories at Akron. A rubber tree takes from 5 to 7 years to reach tapping age, and while the flow increases with the age, the annual average is between 4 and 6 pounds per tree. With approximately 100 trees to the acre, the usual annual average is around 450 pounds. However, Goodyear's plantations yield as high as 1,200 pounds per acre. Modern facilities have been provided on the plantation for processing the rubber prior to shipment to the United States. The cans of latex are brought in from the plantation and are poured through sieves to eliminate foreign material that may have been picked up during collection. The latex drops down into tile-lined vats for hardening. This process of hardening is called coagulation. The latex will coagulate on exposure to air, but to speed up the reaction, acetic acid is used. The slabs of coagulated latex are then cut into convenient sizes for further processing in the plant. These machines are called ringers and give to the compressed sheets the crepe-like appearance that is common to crude rubber. The sheets are then hung in large drying chambers to eliminate the moisture content. The sheets of rubber are then smoked and are ready for packaging and shipping to the Goodyear factories in Akron. By controlling all points in the process of producing crude rubber on the plantations, it is possible to make products of uniform quality. This is a decided advantage over the old method of having to use the crude rubber brought in by the natives, who gather their latex from the wild trees of the jungle. Now, each shipment leaving the plantations for the Goodyear factories is of known quality. When the day's labor is over, the workers return to their homes. The plantation owners distribute large portions of rice to the workmen twice a month. The village life then takes on an atmosphere of gaiety. The orchestra tunes up, and the curtain rises on the ancient legends of the people as depicted by the puppets, as they are put through their faces by the storyteller of the shadow shows. These shows are the native movies of Sumatra, and the people never tire of seeing and hearing the same stories over and over. Everybody goes and in their finest raiment, all dressed up and having their pictures taken. Wonder if any of them have their eyes set on Hollywood. The annual horse fair is one of the high spots in the life of the village. There's excitement, thrills, spills, and chills as the afternoon racing gets underway. The longest way around will have to be the shortest way home in this mad dash of speed. Or is a straight line the shortest distance between 2 points? Some of the jockeys seem to be having some difficulty with their mounts. Payday, 2 or more people, and you have the rise of a competitive spirit that manifests itself in any land. A game of chance will attract a crowd of both participants and kibitzers. This looks like a variation of the old shell game, and there will probably be a lot of explanation at home about a short pay envelope this week. Here is the native dance group getting into the mood to put on a performance for the orchestra sets the rhythm, and the men go about their dance in a serious mood. The dancing profession is a serious one, for the correct interpretation of the native dances means a lot to the people they belong to. The conquering of the jungle has been a coordination of many years of hard labor. But as we see ships loaded, leaving the ports of Sumatra, we know that the job has been well worth the effort, and from this high-quality crude rubber will come better product.